So one of my viewers named Great Neck asked me to make a video on testosterone and aggression. Out of the blue, but I understand the context in that the first 10 shots I took of testosterone replacement therapy, I put them here on YouTube. As I was injecting myself, I filmed myself, and I talked about the process and how I felt. And those shots were like 2 weeks apart. That was what my dosage was at the time. But since then, I have been prescribed Androgel, which does not involve injections, and you just topically put it on you. And that was because my red blood cell count was elevated because I was injecting. I had moved from my belly fat to my legs to keep the injection sites every other 2 weeks further apart from each other because I didn't want to get any infections at the injection sites. And what happened was it was stimulating my bone marrow in my legs. So they switched me, and this is the cheapest of the solutions as far as topical stuff. And I'm a couple years into this hormone replacement therapy with testosterone, and no aggression. I don't feel angrier personally, and what I think people have as a misconception here is I had a deficit of testosterone in me, right? And so just replacing it, it's bringing me back to normal. So I'm not experiencing any roid rage or any aggression that's out of the ordinary because I'm being brought to a hormone level that is normal. Prior to that, when I was low on testosterone, I was actually more irritable and more likely to lash out at people out of irritation and depression, right? But, yeah, classically people have known about roid rage for decades now because they maybe have a friend that overdid it with the testosterone, somebody who's in the gym all the time and has, giant biceps the size of my head, right? And for the levels of testosterone that it's required to, create that kind of roid rage, many times it's like 200 times what the natural body would have in it that they're using. Like, ungodly amounts of testosterone that they're injecting into themselves to achieve that sort of physique. And so it's a completely different level of testosterone usage. But I'm also kind of confused about some of the more famous stories of roid rage going out of control, because there could have been other factors to it. One story that comes to mind is that of Chris Benoit from the WWE, having snapped one day and deciding to kill his wife and son and then kill himself. And a lot of people thought, well, look at his physique. It was obviously roid rage, right? But another explanation for it could have been CTE. That's chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Because one of his finishing moves in the WWE was a headbutt diving from the top rope, from the top turnbuckle, and then headbutting his opponent as he landed. And, if you did that once per night over the course of years, you might develop, concussions, and you might get lesions in your brain and start growing those plaques that they're now studying in the NFL. And that could have been the cause of his explosive behavior that night, that really violent turn, rather than roid rage, So there's a lot of different cases where you can also say, well, this football player, yeah, he was on steroids for many different spans of his life, but also he was hit in the head a lot. So, was it roid rage? Maybe. But of course, when you're dealing with any hormones and you are replacing them, you're going to see differences in someone's behavior patterns, and you're going to hear them talk about their feelings a little bit differently. But it's been my experience that that sort of aggression does not happen with just regular hormone replacement therapy, because you're dealing with levels that are within a manageable, achievable by nature human level. It's the unnatural giant, beefcake type guys that you need to worry about that sort of thing with. Hope I made a good enough video for you. I'm off to work. This was just on the fly.